setting up. Should be starting any second now. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome today. I'm so excited to be here with my good friend Jenny Robertson, who's going to be talking about once you know your purpose, then what? So by the way, I made a little sign for us. Can you all see that okay? Once you know your purpose, then what? Because I like visuals, and so I have this one visual that you may see a few times, like every time I ask Jenny. Well, so once you know your purpose, then what? Anyhow, I'm Catherine Yarbrough, for those of you who may not know me. And Jenny wonderfully and graciously agreed to be a sponsor for my upcoming Take Your Breaks Off workshop. So I am so excited. She is joining me and all of the wonderful, awesome women entrepreneurs who are going to be coming to all 5 of the locations of the Take Your Breaks Off workshops. So she's planning on taking her breaks off big time along with me, because I'm telling you, that's what I'm up to these days. And I'm just so grateful. And I wanted to share Jenny and her wisdom with you, with all of my Facebook friends, and see what we talk about today. When she suggested the idea, once you know your purpose, then what? I thought, wow, that sounds really interesting. We might have a cool conversation here. If you don't know Jenny Robertson, I've been blessed to know her since 2001. She founded the On Purpose Woman community in Maryland. I went religiously for at least 10 years, and then not so religiously for a few years after that, while I was still up in Maryland, because I love the community. It's a great community. She also, and then she and I created the online gathering. So, I mean, I've been hanging out with Jenny for a long time. And then she launched a magazine, the On Purpose Woman magazine. She is a publisher. It used to be in print. It is now online. And once again, she and I are doing that together. So Jenny is an amazing woman. I think that I'm now in Florida, and I mean, I miss her presence. I'm so glad that Jenny, that we keep connecting online, thank goodness, and that we get to see each other in person periodically. The Maryland community of women and women entrepreneurs are so blessed to have you, my friend. And I feel blessed to have been part of the On Purpose Woman journey. So today we're going to be talking about once you know your purpose, then what? So my first question to you, Jenny, is what do you mean by this? Once you know your purpose, then what?
I don't know. What do I mean by that? Thanks, Catherine, for having me on here and for all of your lovely accolades. I feel the same. And wow, has it been that long? How did that happen? You know, I don't want to assume that everyone watching this is actually crystal clear about their purpose, because so I want to do just a little bit of purpose talk for a minute, if that's okay with you.
I would love that.
You know, years ago when I named my company Live Your Life on Purpose, and I started the On Purpose networking for women, everything I was doing had the word purpose in it, because that was in 2000, and it felt like it was kind of a newer thing. And then all these books started coming out, and I started reading a lot more about purpose. And I think people started viewing it as something that was difficult to discover, that you had to go sit on a mountaintop and, you know, meditate, and this voice would come out of the sky and bless you with your purpose. And I don't think it works that way. I think we all know on some deep level what we're here to do. And I think our purpose is simply this fire in our belly. That's what we're here to do. And we'll do it one way or the other. And sometimes we'll do it in not really constructive ways. I think sometimes we'll get it done, but it may be in ways that don't really serve us. And so I think just trust your gut and know that if there's something, especially if there's something that's been with you since you were a child that you still love to do, then it's part of, I believe, of what your purpose is. So I don't think you have to be crystal clear on that. I think it's a fluid process. But I think what's often happens is, I'm going to talk about women here specifically. You know, women will get this idea, and then we will start to move toward our purpose, and then we don't know what to do next. So what happens if I know my purpose and there's nowhere in my life that I'm expressing it? You know, that can really lead to a lack of joy, I believe, because I also believe that we can be at cross purposes with our purpose. Cross purposes with our purpose.
I love what you're saying, Jenny. Can we back it up a little bit? Can you identify maybe a couple examples of types of purposes? Because when you say what we're here to do, people may think, oh, raise children.
Right.
That might be what you mean. And I don't know. So if you could give a few examples and then come back to this whole idea of the possibility of not really doing it and being at cross purposes, that might be useful here.
Okay. Yeah, I would love to do that. And I think let me go back to the finding our purpose thing just a minute again. It doesn't have to be this mountaintop experience, because I think if we see it as a mountaintop experience, we start to think that it has to be something huge, that, my life purpose has to be ending world hunger. And if I'm not doing that, or if I can't do that, which is impossible to do, then have I failed at my purpose? We have some examples out there of people living their purpose in a huge way. Oprah Winfrey comes to mind. Her purpose is visible to everyone, and she works it every day.
Well, what would you say her purpose is?
I would say her purpose is to bring light to the world, to shine light on things. She was talking about things on her show early that nobody else was talking about. She gave people an opportunity to tune in and hear things that they may have thought they were odd or weird, or, gee, I didn't know anybody else felt that way but me. So go ahead.
So I want to point out this, because I could look at Oprah and think, well, her purpose is to have a TV show. Her purpose is to have a magazine. Her purpose is to be a big figure. But the way you're describing it, to shine the light on things that need, I'm going to say need to have their light shined on.
Yeah.
That's a whole other way of looking at purpose. I mean, I know that probably everybody listening to this gets that, but I wanted to break this down, because then it's the expression. She's expressing it through those other things. And so she's not at cross purposes.
Right. Those are simply mechanisms. Those are simply actions. She does not have to be a billionaire to live her purpose. It just so happens that she is. At least that's how I see it. That she could still be doing what she's doing, but maybe in a much smaller way. So I think, we each have an opportunity to have that impact. And our purpose, someone's purpose may be to be a really good mother, to raise certain types of children who will bring light to the world, or to be a good friend, to be a teacher, to be, something that's going to impact maybe a smaller amount of people. Maybe only people in your immediate circle will be impacted. Maybe you feed 5 people instead of ending world hunger. And I think if we can look at it that way, it doesn't feel like we have to search and seek and look for the next 10 decades to find it. And that if it isn't big, it's not worthy. I think that was the most important thing I discovered. Women were saying to me, well, it just doesn't feel big enough to me. Well, you can make it bigger by how you express it, but the purpose itself isn't big. Oprah's shining the light. She could have been shining the light on 2 people. That would have been plenty, except she created a platform. She had opportunities that she said yes to, because on some very deep level, I believe she knew they were in line with what she needed to do. That's why she said yes to this and no to this. That's why she left Baltimore to do a show that people swore was not going to go anywhere, that she was up against Phil Donahue. You can't do that. And she just said, I don't care, I'm doing it. That's that gut thing that says, I would do it even if they weren't paying me. I would do it, or sometimes it feels almost like a death, I think, if we don't do what we feel innately drawn to doing. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And the more examples, like for example, I feel like, I'm not sure if my whole purpose, but a piece of my purpose is to inspire heart-based entrepreneurs to go for it with their businesses. Does that make sense?
Yes. Because I think our purpose is usually, their action, their verbs, to inspire, to shine. My purpose, I believe, is to connect. The mission of my company, connect women around the world to their gifts, their purpose, and each other. I believe that's the reason I'm here. Maybe, or like you said, it's a piece of it. I've just defined it that way. But I think my purpose is to be that connector to help women find something they may be looking for, something they may feel they're missing. And I've been doing that all my life in myriad ways. I did it before I had a business. I did it with employees, but I would have never called it that. I had no clue that it was really something I felt called to do.
So interesting. So, okay, so cool. So now, now that we have a better sense of where you're coming from with purpose, that question of being at cross purposes, I know you talked about it a little bit, like how, if what you're doing in the world, how you're expressing yourself isn't in alignment, that sounds like you're being at cross purposes.
Right.
Or whatever.
Yeah. I'll give you an example. You may have heard this story. I don't know. I went to college initially to be a teacher, an English teacher, only because I excelled in English. And in 1969, girls were usually told they could be teachers, nurses, or secretaries or something else. And none of those other things appealed to me. My parents thought I would be a good teacher, so they sent me to college to be a teacher. I didn't want to be a teacher. I didn't know why. I just knew that wasn't for me. So I managed to leave college. I managed to talk my parents into letting me leave college to get married. That's one way, isn't it, to get out of not living your purpose? Of course, totally unconscious. So I got married. I've been in school for 2 years, got married, moved to Baltimore, got a job with a big corporation who said, we will send you back to school to get your degree, but you have to take what we want you to take now. So I ended up getting a degree in finance, in business, with a concentration in finance. So teaching English, business, and finance. Neither one of those things spoke to me, but I was I liken it to being like a leaf blowing in the wind or a cork on the ocean just bobbing. Oh, you want me to go there? Okay, I'll go there. So I kind of, I was a good girl and I did what I was told. And I never felt like I had found my place. People used to say to me, I can't believe you go to an office and sit all day. That doesn't seem like you. And I didn't know it wasn't me because I didn't know what was me, but I knew it wasn't this. And so, I won't go through the whole story about how all that came about, but, one of the things I said yes to many years ago was to be a Cub Scout den leader because nobody else would do it. And there's that teaching thing again. And it became very clear why I said no to teaching. I don't even like kids all that much, even though I have an amazing son. It was horrible for me to go every week and try to do something creative. I'm not a crafty person. I thought these kids should just be quiet and behave. It was just awful. I couldn't have been more at cross purposes. There was nothing about that volunteer opportunity that sung to me or spoke to me. I couldn't wait to get out of it. But I said yes because nobody else did, and I didn't want anybody to be disappointed. So I think that happens often. We know why we're here, maybe we have a nudge at least, but we'll say no to it to do something else that may be more pleasing to others. That's in the early days of the work. We don't know yet who we are. We don't know yet that we deserve to go after what we want. So we may kind of shove it off to the side. And I think to the extent that we aren't saying yes to it, we're not living in as much joy as we can live in.
Okay. So now I think we're here at the once you know your purpose, then what? Because we've got the idea that it's a verb like connecting, inspiring, shining the light, something like that. And then you're going to potentially express it, and you need to not be at cross purposes by doing something that's not the expression of it. Okay, so talk to us now, Jenny. Once you know your purpose, then what?
Well, here's some really good news. I think once you know your purpose, you do not have to disrupt your life to live it. And I think some people think that, I've got to quit my job because my job, I'm not expressing my purpose in my career. I have to quit my job, but how am I going to support myself? I don't think we need to do that. I think often when we're clear on what is ours to do, we can find ways to do it within our existing space, within our existing career, within our existing relationships, within our existing volunteer work. We just have to look at it a bit differently or find ways to do it. Now, I was doing a workshop on purpose a number of years ago, and there was a guy in the workshop. It's back when I used to let guys in. And he was a budding musician. He just wanted to sing and play for people. He didn't care if he made a lot of money. He just wanted to sing and play for people. And I said, so go sing and play. And he looked at me like, what do you mean? I said, go find a place to sing and play. I said, you know how many nursing homes or senior centers would love to have you come and cheer people up? And, you know, I almost didn't say it because it seemed so obvious to me. Because I've been looking at this stuff for a long time. And to this day, I still see him occasionally, and he still says, you know, that was probably 15 to 18 years ago. He said that shifted everything. And he started doing that. He's got a CD now. He performs a lot, but he felt like he had to have everything in place and had to be going and making that record before he could live his purpose. And it's like, no, go give it away somewhere. You know, keep your paying job, pay your bills, eat, you know, do all that stuff. But I also think, you know, when I look back at my corporate career, you know, I was connecting people there. I was always coming up with projects that my department could do, like philanthropic stuff that we could do in the community. So I was connecting them with the outside world, and we got to be a better team because of it. So, and I was mentoring them, which I also love to do. So I figured out a way, again, unconsciously. Fortunately, it worked out. You know, sometimes we do it so unconsciously that we don't even know that we're doing it. And so I think that once we are conscious about it, we can use this knowledge to be like a yardstick of how we're doing with our life. How fulfilled are we? How much are we using our purpose in our daily lives? And we can also use it as a way to say yes and no to things. You want me to go on, or you want to jump in?
Well, so yeah, I will jump in. I'll just go over that again in my own language. So once we know our purpose, you have just said, we can use that to be clear on how fulfilled we are, because if we're doing, in whatever way, if we're doing it, we feel that sense of flow and joy and fulfillment. So it's interesting. I do have to jump in here. This is interesting for me. Maybe you have some wisdom for me. I'll just be personal here.
Put me on the spot here, huh?
Well, no, maybe. I don't know. I'm sure we'll see where this goes. But like, I do these Facebook Live videos sometimes, and I'm doing my very best to inspire people, because I really do at this point in time think that's my purpose, to inspire heart-based entrepreneurs. But it doesn't always feel so fulfilling because people aren't necessarily there because of the form of expression. Whereas if I'm in person, it's just so different. It feels so much better. And maybe I'm answering the question, sort of looking at it myself.
I think you could look at that a couple of ways. One is, maybe the best way for you to express your purpose is more not one-on-one, but more face-to-face, even if it's online, you know, more so you can interact. Sounds like interaction is important to you, and the kind of the give and the take, and to see how people respond is important. Maybe that means right there that you should do more of those, or maybe you should do none of the other. The other way to look at it is that it doesn't matter whether you know the results or not. You know, it doesn't matter whether you know who you're inspiring or how you're inspiring them, as long as your intention is to inspire. But if you're not getting fulfillment from it, you know, then I think that's another place to look then, because I think we need to really be selfish in this and to do it in a way that works for us so that we can give to other people. It could also be that you may have an expectation that says, I want people to respond in a certain way. And if they're not even there on my Facebook Live, then that means nobody's probably watching and it probably doesn't matter.
Right.
So
I definitely go there.
Yeah, I've had that experience myself, you know. So why am I doing it? But the other thing is, you don't know who's watching. You don't know, you will rarely hear, I think, from people, that's been my experience, who will tell us or even think to tell us what what something that we said meant to them or how it helped them. Or sometimes you'll hear it 10 years down the road,
Mhm.
you know. And so I think if your intention is simply to live that purpose, just keep putting it out there. But if it doesn't fulfill you and maybe that's just not your best way to do it. So I think, you got some choices there.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So anyway, back to what you were
Yes.
saying. Once we
Yes.
know our purpose, then we can gauge whether we're on it or not by how fulfilled we feel, how much joy
Right.
we're experiencing, and how much we're using our purpose in our day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were saying something else, and you said, "Shall I go on?" And I can't remember what that was, Jenny. Do you?
I believe I was saying you can also use it to make decisions.
Oh, right. Oh, yes, that good stuff. Is this mine to do? I love that question. Tell us about it.
Okay. How often have you been asked? I know a zillion people. I know a lot of people, and you can imagine how many people want me to sell their product or service, to be in their downline, if you will. And I will never do
Wait,
that.
wait, let me interrupt you. I
Uh,
have probably only had two people ask me. In all of these years of networking, I have had very few people. So people instinctively know I am not that kind of a person.
They do. I don't know why they don't instinctively know I don't. Probably because I'm in the middle of all of this.
Because you are a connector.
And they're thinking, oh
Yes.
my God, Jenny knows 10 million people. If she just said,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. I'm very clear that I will never, ever do that. Ever, ever, ever. I will buy your product if I love it. I will tell people it's great, but I will never sell it. And the reason I don't want to. It doesn't fulfill me. Is not in line. But more than anything, it would be a distraction. It would be a distraction from the other work I'm doing. Because my business, that every single thing I do in one way or another connects women. It just does. And so and I would tell you, I have been, my early days before I actually started a business, I was kind of playing around, figuring it out. I went down some rabbit holes following other people who thought I would be great helping them. And we're talking some bigger name people, and I found myself actually, supporting someone else in getting their workshops out there rather than doing my own. And that it just never worked out. I don't know whether I sabotaged it unconsciously or I finally saw the light and said, this isn't for me. And so I had to get really clear that I was the only person who could do what I was here to do. And that seems rather simple, I think, yet, I think especially when we start a business and we have this idea, then we start comparing ourselves. Oh, somebody else is already doing that, or they're doing something very similar. No, they're not. They're doing something that you may judge as similar, but they are not doing it the way that you do it. If you're doing it in line with your purpose and expressing your purpose through it, it is uniquely yours and your unique expression of it. And that may sound a bit simplified, but this doesn't have to be hard. You just have to be aware. I think it just requires you to be conscious and paying attention and noticing when you're not doing the things that you're here to do, and maybe looking at why. There's a lot of fear around this. Requires change.
So what I want to do next is ask you a question about the Take Your Breaks Off workshop and how that connects to all of this. And I want to let anyone who is here with us live know that we would welcome comments or questions. So if you haven't yet posted, if you're here watching, and you've got a question for Jenny or for me, I'm sure we both welcome questions and comments. So
Yes.
please do that. And I'll go check in just a minute to see if you've said hello. Hello is great. Hello is great. But my question for you is, I did ask you to sponsor the Take Your Breaks Off workshop. I asked you to come down here to Florida for the 2 dates here in Florida. Just for listeners, if you are not aware of the Take Your Breaks Off workshop, you can go to takeyourbreaksoff.com. That's takeyourbreaksoff.com, and you can check it out. I'd love for you to register. You can still get early registration for only $97 on all of the dates right now. And so Jenny's coming down for the October 5th and the October 11th workshop. She's going to be here. And then I'm going up to Maryland for November 2nd, November 3rd, and November 9th. So those are all 5 different dates. And she's going to be there with me. And it's a big deal. It was a big deal for me to ask you, Jenny. And I just for the listener's sake, I said, I'm getting back into doing in-person events, and I'm ready to ramp it all up and do my best to make it as big as possible. And I'd love your mentorship. So, and I know I'm probably kind of one of the special people in your life for you to be willing to say yes to that kind of being here with me, for me in that kind of way, because I know that's part of the yes. But how did you get to that place of yes for this? Because I'd love for you to share that process with me and everybody.
Yeah, it's a great question because it also may, for somebody listening, fly in the face of what I just said. I won't sell your product or service. There's a caveat to that. I will never sell anyone's product. That's for sure. But if something is in alignment with what I'm doing, with what I'm already doing, if I feel connected to someone, and you're right, I felt honored that you asked me. And I also appreciated so much that you convinced me and mentored me in doing the online events. And then you stepped up to do the design for the magazine. And it wasn't and I didn't even realize that was part of my decision, but I think it probably was. It wasn't about, oh, well, Catherine's helping me, I need to go help her. It wasn't about that. I know that what we each do collectively and separately is in total alignment with what I'm here to do. And so I thought, wow, great opportunity to go meet some new women, some new people, to hang out with you, to support you in whatever. I know this is your first full day live event. To support you in another thing that I really love to do. I love to organize things, and, I get that flow down, and I got the processes, and I've done this a lot. And the first time out, it can be a little daunting if you don't know that you don't know what you might miss because you don't know what you don't know yet. There could be that one little thing that you might not even think of to go, oh, I should have done that, So I wanted to be that person for you. I thought it would be fun. And you also we have to fess up, you enticed me with a stay at a condo at the beach. That was also in between. That was pretty good. That was really good. Yeah.
All right. So a little icing on the cake never helps when you're asking someone to support you in something.
But you talked about, you believe your purpose is to inspire heart-based entrepreneurs. That's a piece of what I also do, and you also have to you connect people automatically when you're doing that. Mm-hmm. So I think our purposes are very aligned with each other. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference between me going and hanging out with you 5 full days, where not only I'm going to just cut the break line. There's not even going to be breaks anymore by the time I'm done. But that's why that works, and being a Cub Scout den leader didn't, And that's the beauty of knowing why we're here and what is ours to do, because we can make conscious decisions like that. Because there was a time when I might have said yes to something that wasn't in alignment just because somebody asked me.
Right.
And that is not a good reason to do anything because somebody asked me, because that leads to resentment and burnout. Mm-hmm. and unfulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky, these collaborations, these joinings of energy and time and stuff. And as you're reminding us, the clearer we are on what we're here to do, on what our purpose is, the easier it is for us to say yes to what is ours, and no when it's not right. And yeah, I love it. Okay. Well, be thinking if there's anything else you want to share. I'm going to look over here and see what we've got going on. If I can find it here, if we've got any comments going on. Yeah, there's the live thing. Look at that. Rosemary Blom. Rosemary, I am sorry that I'm probably not saying your name right. Rosemary Blom Stowers. She wrote 20 minutes ago. Hi, Catherine. Hi, Rosemary. I'm here and it does matter, even if this was only meant for me. Yay. I'm so glad that you're here watching, Rosemary. Woohoo you. And then just 9 minutes ago or something. Anyway, I wasn't supposed to be home, but it's the greatest timing for me. Thank you. So I'm so glad, Rosemary. That's awesome. Awesome that you're here. Okay, so if there's anyone else, well, it looks like she's our person. If you're watching this as a replay, then feel free to make any comments. I'm sure Jenny and I will check back.
Yeah, ask a question in the comments. Be happy
Mm-hmm.
to.
Mm-hmm.
I do have one more thing I'd like to add, and that is just another example for anyone who's still a little fuzzy about how I think this works. Every once in a while I get this desire to be at the beach full time.
I believe that, yeah.
And I have a lot of friends who have retired to the beach, and their toes are in the sand a lot. And I said to Don a while back, my husband Don, for those of you who don't know, that man, I think I just want to go put my toes in the sand. And he said, would that be enough? I said, I don't know, but I'd like to try. I'd like to just see. And he said, well, what would probably happen is you'd be walking down the beach and another one would be walking towards you, and you'd stop and you'd start a conversation. And then you'd see another woman who looked like somebody you'd want to talk to, and you would call her over, and then you'd be the three of you, and you would, connect. And then you might have a fourth woman. Before you know it, you're having a meeting on the sand. And I thought that is such a great example of I would do that. And this is not because I'm an extreme extrovert. I am really an introvert at heart. But introversion has nothing to do with being shy. I am not shy about talking to people who seem there's a vibe a certain kind of woman gives off that says to me, I think she might be my people.
Hmm.
And so what he was saying to me is, you're going to do this no matter what, whether you get paid, whether it's a business, you're going to find a way to do it. And like I say, I've been doing it for a really long time. So I think for those of you who might be a little fuzzy, what must you do? What must you do?
Hmm. I love it. Thank you, Jenny. And if you're one of those people, if you like how Jenny feels, if you like how I feel, come join us for the Take Your Breaks Off workshops. Go to takeyourbreaksoff.com. Of course, if you're in Maryland or anywhere on the planet, because Jenny does online now, if you want to connect with Jenny, go to onpurposewomancommunity.com, correct?
Yes.
Onpurposewomancommunity.com. If you want to check out the magazine, it's onpurposewomanmagazine.com. Okay, so onpurposewomanmagazine.com. And of course, if you didn't get these and you're wondering, how do I get a hold of us, just message. If you're watching this, you can just ask. All right. So Jenny, thank you. This was great. I
Oh,
love
you're
talking.
welcome. I know. I
Yeah.
thought, oh, we've only got I only have about 10 minutes worth of stuff to say on this topic. Managed to do 35 or so. That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you, Rosemary, for joining us live. I saw Joy said hello, or she liked it early on. So if you're still listening, Joy, thank you for being here with us. And those of you who are watching the replay, you rock too. And I look forward to seeing you fulfill your purpose and be on purpose too.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.